Cape Verde, Cabo Verde, a name you've probably been hearing a lot lately.
Welcome to Cape Verde.
Cape Verde.
Word for Cape Verde.
Maybe it's because of football.
Half a world away from the islands of Cape Verde.
Maybe it's the music. Maybe it's this tiny nation keeps punching far above its weight. But here's the shocking part. Most people have absolutely no idea what Cape Verde really is. And here's something I absolutely love about this country. Although it's hundreds of kilometers off Africa's west coast, Cape Verde has never tried to distance itself from the continent. In fact, Cape Verde proudly embraces its African identity. Its people will tell you without hesitation, we are African. That pride is woven into their music, their culture, and above all, their history. Now, think about this. How can a country with less than 600,000 people spread across 10 volcanic islands and covering barely 4,000 square kilometers produce Grammy-winning musicians, Champions League football stars, world boxing champions, Hollywood actors, beauty queens, and one of Africa's strongest democracies? How does a nation so small become one of the continent's biggest success stories? The answer, the Cape Verde isn't normal. Cape Verde is insane. This is a country with almost no natural resources, no major rivers, very little farmland. It has survived devastating droughts, famine, slavery, colonialism, and even volcanic eruptions. Yet today it's one of Africa's safest countries, one of its strongest democracies, and one of the least corrupt nations on the continent. So how did they do it? What secrets does this tiny Atlantic nation hold that much larger countries could learn from? I'm Fane. This is Fast Facts Africa, your go-to channel for breaking news and fascinating facts shaping the African continent. Today, we are diving into one of Africa's most extraordinary nations. This is why Cape Verde is insane. A country born from fire. Before we talk about the people, let's talk about the place, because Cape Verde itself is insane. Imagine you're a Portuguese sailor in the 15th century. After weeks sailing along the coast of Africa, you suddenly spot a land, 10 volcanic islands rising out of the Atlantic Ocean nearly 600 kilometers from Senegal. That's Cape Verde. Now, here's the first surprise. Despite its name, Green Cape, Cape Verde isn't green at all. Most of the islands are dry, rocky, and volcanic. Some look more like Mars than a tropical paradise. Rain is so rare that drought has shaped the country's history for centuries. Each island has its own personality. Santiago is the largest island and home to about half of the population. São Vicente is the cultural capital, famous for its music and nightlife. The island of São and Boa Vista are known for their white sand beaches and crystal clear waters, attracting hundreds of thousands of tourists every year. In fact, tourism now contributes roughly a quarter of Cape Verde's entire economy, making it one of the country's biggest industries. And then there is Fogo. Its name literally means fire, and at its center stands Pico do Fogo, an active volcano rising 2,829 meters above sea level. It has erupted many times, most recently in 2014, destroying homes, farms, and entire villages. But the people didn't abandon the island. They rebuilt, because that's what Cape Verdeans do.
A volcano has erupted on the Cape Verde Islands, forcing hundreds of residents to flee their homes and the local airport to close. It's the first time the volcano on the island of Fogo has erupted since 1995.
And here is another crazy fact. The islands were created by volcanic activity millions of years ago, and the hotspot beneath them is still active today. Scientists believe that one day a brand new Cape Verdean island would rise from the Atlantic Ocean. Cape Verde is literally still being created. But perhaps the most unbelievable fact of all, when the Portuguese arrived, they didn't find villages, they didn't find kingdoms, they didn't find people. The islands were completely empty, a blank slate. And in the hands of European colonizers, the blank slate became one of the darkest chapters in human history. The islands that changed history. In 1462, the Portuguese established the first permanent European settlement in the tropics of Santiago Island. Today it's called Cidade Velha. It's peaceful now, colorful buildings, historic churches, ocean views. It looks like paradise. But beneath that beauty lies a painful history. For more than 300 years, Cape Verde became one of the most important hubs in the transatlantic slave trade. Ships arrived carrying enslaved Africans from present-day Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, the Gambia, and other parts of West Africa. Many were held on these islands before being shipped across the Atlantic to plantations in Brazil, the Caribbean, and the Americas. Families were torn apart, lives were destroyed, history was forever changed. But something unexpected happened. Not everyone left. Some enslaved Africans remained on the islands. Portuguese settlers stayed too, and over generations, a completely new people were born, the Cape Verdeans. Today, genetic studies show that Cape Verdeans have both African and European ancestry. Their story is not just in history books, but in their DNA. It is a painful reminder of colonialism, but it is also the beginning of one of Africa's most unique identities. And that's where Cape Verde becomes truly different. Unlike many countries around the world, Cape Verde has no tribes, no competing ethnic groups, no tribal politics, no ethnic violence. Instead, centuries of living together created one national identity. Cape Verdeans don't see themselves as different tribes. They simply see themselves as Cape Verde and proudly African. That unity has become one of the country's greatest strengths. In fact, since gaining independence in 1975, Cape Verde has never experienced a civil war. Power changes peacefully through democratic elections, making it one of Africa's most stable democracies and a model of peaceful governance on the continent. But unity alone doesn't build a nation. Culture does. And no way is that culture more alive than in the language its people speak. One people, one language, one identity. Language tells you everything about a nation's history. And in Cape Verde, it tells an incredible story. Portuguese is the country's official language. It's the language of government, schools, and official business. But ask any Cape Verdean what they speak at home, and the answer is almost always the same: Crioulo, Cape Verdean Creole. A beautiful language born from Portuguese and West African languages, created by people who came from completely different worlds but were forced to build one life together. Every island has its own accent, its own flavor, its own way of speaking, but every Cape Verdean understands every other Cape Verdean, because Crioulo is more than just a language. It's identity, it's family, it's history. And speaking of family, Cape Verde has just less than 600,000 people living on the island. But the Cape Verdean diaspora is estimated at more than 1 million people. That means there are more Cape Verdeans living abroad than there are living in the Cape Verde itself. You'll find Cape Verdean communities in Portugal, the United States, France, the Netherlands, Italy, Luxembourg, and many other countries. Yet, no matter where you go, they never forget home. Every year, they send millions of dollars back to their families through remittances, helping build homes, educate children, and support the country's economy. It's one of the reasons this small nation has continued to grow despite having so few natural resources. Because for Cape Verdeans, home isn't just where you live, it's who you are. And perhaps nothing expresses that identity better than music, the sound of a nation. If you have heard just one name from Cape Verde before today, it's probably Cesária Évora, known around the world as Barefoot Diva. She performed without shoes as a symbol of solidarity with the poor. She wasn't trying to be different. She was reminding the world where she came from. Her voice introduced millions of people to Cape Verde. She won a Grammy Award, performed on the world's biggest stages, and became one of Africa's greatest musical ambassadors. But she wasn't just singing songs. She was telling the story of an entire nation. Cape Verdean music is filled with feeling known as saudade, a deep longing, a mixture of love, nostalgia, and hope. It reflects the lives of people whose families are scattered across the world, yet whose hearts always return to the islands. Today, artists like Mayra Andrade, Laura, and Sarah Tavares continue to carry Cape Verde's music to global audiences. Their songs blend African rhythms, Portuguese influences, and Caribbean sounds into something completely unique. But music isn't the only thing that tells Cape Verde's story. Food does too. The national dish is called cachupa, slow-cooked meal made from corn, beans, vegetables, and meat or fish. It was born during difficult times when people had to make the most of whatever ingredients they had. Today is the heart of every family celebration, every wedding, every reunion, every Sunday afternoon. And to wash it all down, there is grog, a powerful sugarcane spirit made only on the island of Santo Antão. Cape Verde didn't just survive hardship, it transformed hardship into culture, into music, into food, into something the entire world now celebrates. A tiny country with a global footprint. Now, let's talk about something that's been putting Cape Verde all over social media lately. It's people, yes. Cape Verdean women are celebrated around the world for their beauty, confidence, and elegance. Women like Oksana Daviega have represented Cape Verde on international stage, showing the people that this tiny nation produces world-class talent. But Cape Verde's influence goes far beyond beauty pageants. Let's talk football. Nani was born in Praia before becoming a Champions League winner with Manchester United and a European champion with Portugal. Henrik basketball giant Walter Tavares became one of Europe's greatest players. Boxing legend Marvelous Marvin Hagler was of Cape Verdean descent. Cape Verdeans have made their mark in music, film, business, politics, and academia. How does a nation of just less than 600,000 people produce so many global stars? The answer lies in its people. Cape Verdeans grow up believing that no matter how small their country is, their dreams don't have to be. And wherever they go, they proudly carry the Cape Verdean flag with them. That's why this tiny nation has a global influence far greater than its size would ever suggest. But perhaps the most unbelievable part of Cape Verde's story is what it's managed to achieve today. Because while many countries blessed with oil, gold, and diamonds still struggle, Cape Verde has built success with almost none of them. And that's where the story becomes truly unbelievable. That's why I say the story of Cape Verde is insane. The African success story. So here's the million-dollar question. How did Cape Verde do it? How does a country with almost no natural resources become one of Africa's greatest success stories? The answer isn't oil, it isn't diamonds, it isn't gold, but its people. When Cape Verde gained independence from Portugal in 1975, it inherited a country facing enormous challenges. There were frequent droughts, widespread poverty, very little industry, and almost no natural resources to rely on. Many people wondered whether the country could even survive. But instead of fighting each other, Cape Verdeans focused on building their nation. They invested in education, they strengthened democratic institutions, they encouraged entrepreneurship, they welcomed investment, and they built a government that, while not perfect, consistently ranks among the least corrupt in Africa. Today, Cape Verde regularly ranks as one of the continent's strongest democracies. Power changes hands peacefully through elections. Political violence is rare. Freedom of the press is respected. And for decades, the country has shown that democracy in Africa doesn't just work, it can thrive. Then there is healthcare. Cape Verde has one of the highest life expectancies in Africa, a remarkable achievement for a nation with so few resources. Its literacy rate is amongst the highest on the continent, and education has become one of the country's greatest investments. But perhaps the most impressive achievement is how Cape Verde has embraced the future. Despite being a small island nation, more than 25% of its electricity already comes from renewable energy, mainly wind and solar power. And the people has ambitious plans to increase that number even further. Imagine that. A volcanic island with very few natural resources, helping lead Africa's clean energy transition. That's insane. Tourism has also transformed the economy. Every year, hundreds of thousands of visitors travel to islands like Sao and Boa Vista to experience world-class beaches, crystal clear waters, whale watching, diving, hiking, and Cape Verde's famous hospitality. And while tourism drives the economy, another major source of income comes from something even more powerful. Remember that Cape Verdean diaspora we talked about. The millions of Cape Verdeans living abroad continue to invest in their homeland, sending money home, starting businesses, building houses, and supporting their families. They prove that you don't have to live in Cape Verde to build Cape Verde. This tiny nation has shown the world that success isn't measured by the size of your land. It's measured by the strength of your people. So, why is Cape Verde insane? Because by every measure, it shouldn't be. A chain of volcanic islands rising from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, a country with almost no natural resources, a nation shaped by slavery, colonialism, devastating droughts, and active volcanoes, and yet it has become one of Africa's most peaceful countries, one of its strongest democracies, one of its least corrupt nations, a place where people are united, not by tribes, but by one identity, one language, one culture, and one incredible spirit. Cape Verde has proven that greatness has absolutely nothing to do with size. If football or the World Cup is what brought Cape Verde to your attention, then that's a good thing, because now you know that football is only a small part of the story. The real story of Cape Verde is far more extraordinary. It's the story of people who refused to become prisoners of their past, who chose unity over division, hope over despair, and excellence over excuses. Cape Verde isn't just one of Africa's hidden gems. It's one of Africa's greatest success stories. A living reminder that a nation's greatest resource isn't buried underground. It's the people who call it home. I'm Faye, and this is Fast Facts Africa. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story from our incredible continent. And before you go, I want to hear from you. What surprises you the most about Cape Verde? And what African country should we explore next? Drop your answer in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, Africa's stories aren't just inspiring the continent, they're inspiring the world. Peace.